Hi designers! In this video I'll be showing you how to set up and begin your feelings poster based on this classic How Are You Feeling Today poster created by illustrator Jim Borgman. You might have seen this poster in elementary school. A lot of teachers used it. It was really popular. We're taking a little bit different approach and taking inspiration from this poster using the actors from Arrested Development. And you can see that you can use anywhere from 25 to 30 photos of faces, different people making different faces. This could be photos of yourself, your friends, your family, or some of you even just went around and found random classmates. You do need to take your own photos and not use internet photos for this project. So hopefully you've saved those photos into a folder on your desktop. If they're on your iPad, you can email them to yourself and then download them. Or if you have a digital camera, you can load them straight onto the computer. So just a review of how you can open files in Photoshop. If they're on your desktop, it works the same way. You select all the files by clicking and dragging. Hold Control on your keyboard and click right on the file. Hover over Open With. You can see I'm not clicking on it. And then click Open With Photoshop. And you'll see all of those files open up. The other thing you need to do before you start selecting is set up your poster. So you go to File, New for a new file, obviously. Of course, you're going to put last name, first name, and this is 1.6 Feelings Poster. Make sure that you change this to inches. If you ever end up with a canvas that's really, really tiny, you probably had it set to pixels. So change it to inches. For this project, the width is 16 and the height is 20. Nice large poster size. The resolution is 200 and the color mode is CMYK. Should open up about like this. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I can see the whole thing. And then I can start selecting and pasting these images. Now, you're really familiar with the selection tools at this point. You've probably developed some favorites, but I just kind of want to reiterate some of the strengths of the different selection tools. For this image, we have a girl making a pretty happy, excited face, and it's got a pretty strong edge going around the background here. If she was completely against the sky, we might be able to use the magic wand, but as you can see, the magic wand selects a color, and of course it can't select because there's too much detail down here in the background. So I'm going to deselect, holding Command D on my keyboard, and I'm going to use the quick selection tool for this one. Now you can see the brush is really big. If you have a really small or really big brush, you can change it up here in the options bar. That might be a little bit too small. There we go. It's kind of your preference. And then just click and hold and let the selection tool find the edges there. All right, if you get a little bit extra, you hold Option to subtract. And I just want her head here. So pick up some of those extra areas. You can see the plus in the middle. That's my cue that it's going to add. I could also hold Shift to add. I got a little bit too much. I'm going to make my brush smaller. This time I'm going to use the brackets on my keyboard. That's the shortcut that I like to use. I'm holding Option. You'll see the minus come up in the quick selection tool. And that's looking pretty good. Now, her hair is a little bit more of an issue because it's very thin. So you could switch over to the polygonal lasso, hold Shift to add, and then click around. However, I'd encourage you not to get too crazy with selecting the hair, just because you can spend so much time on selecting one image when it's really not that necessary. Something like that. Maybe subtract a few of these little areas right in here, just so she doesn't have a flat head with some blue spots. Double click to close the selection, and that's pretty good. Make sure that you look all the way around your selection. Make sure it's pretty smooth. Again, if you're missing little bits of hair, that's okay. But you don't want it to be too chunky or to be missing an ear or to be including something that doesn't really exist or doesn't belong there. So now I'm going to copy, go up to File, or to edit, copy, or I could hold Command C on my keyboard. Then go to my canvas and paste. And when you're first putting these in, I wouldn't really worry. If you want to kind of move them into place, that's fine. But get all of your photos onto your poster first before you really start spending a lot of time resizing. So here we have a guy who looks a little stern. I think the quick selection tool would work really well on this one as well. Again, it's my favorite tool. It's the one I go to. You'll have your favorites. However, this does have a really strong edge, so let's just try the magnetic lasso tool. And again, with the magnetic lasso tool, you click, and then you just allow the magnetic lasso to find the edge. I'm not clicking, I'm just allowing it to find and make those points for me. If there's ever a section where you do need to guide it, you can click, just like with the polygonal lasso, just like this. But with an image that has such a defined edge, it's pretty easy to use this tool. Now, if you get distracted or maybe you jerk or something and you end up going out like this, that's okay. Just keep going because you'll be able to fix that, that selection later. So I'm going to keep going all the way around his head. This is doing a great job. Perfect tool for this. It takes a little bit longer. But again, maybe you like being really precise. Close that selection. Then I can use another tool. I could use the polygonal lasso to subtract. Again, hold Option on the keyboard and click right along here. I'm only going to do a section of it because I want to show you another option. So I could use that very easily, or I could use the quick selection tool. Again, hold Option, get that minus, and subtract, and it finds that edge again. Again, the magic wand probably wouldn't be a really good choice in this case because there's more than one color in the background. So it's kind of a rare case that the magic wand works really well. But in those cases that it does, it's one click and you're good to go because it can select the whole thing in one, that's all one color. All right, so we're ready to copy. I'm going to hold Command C, go over to my canvas, Command V to paste, use my move tool, and I could select it up here, or the shortcut is V to move the stern guy into place. And I just have one more to show you here. An excited woman. Make my brush just a little bit bigger on my quick selection tool. I'll show you the polygonal lasso for this one since I've already used the other. The polygonal lasso works by just clicking and making your own points. If you have a round image, then you just want to click several times so that you get kind of a round area. You can see I'm going around her glasses. That was just a choice that I made on the fly. You can decide what you include and what you don't. And in this case, she has long flowy hair. So I'm going to go around most of her flowy hair, but not the rest of her body. So just her face and her hair. You could decide to include shoulders if you'd like. This is a little bit tricky right here. Kind of got to go up all the way around, making those clicks. The other option that you have is actually using one of the marquee tools. So let me finish this selection. There we go, that looks nice. So I could do this, copy it, and then paste it, and that goes with the other two. Or you could choose to use the marquee tool for all of the photos. And especially the elliptical marquee tool would be really good for this. You could draw a circle or even an oval around each picture. And this can be kind of tricky because you might want a perfect circle. If you want a perfect circle, hold Shift, and you can see that constrains it or keeps it a perfect circle. You can also move it around by holding the space bar, and that allows you to move around the circle so you can get it just where you want it. There we go, perfect circle. Copy, Command C, paste, Command V, and then you'd have this very regular, easy way to make selections for each of your images. If you do decide to use one of the marquee tools, use it for all of your images. That way they're all consistent and unified. I'm going to delete this one. If you need to delete a layer, come over to your Layers panel and drag the layer into the little trash can at the bottom of the panel. All right, so now Let's pretend I have all 30 of my images here and we're ready to place them in a grid. You want to turn on your rulers at this point. If you don't see them up here, go up to View, Rulers. Mine are already on. And then you're going to drag down a guide. Click on the ruler and drag down a guide for your images. And you can see I'm going to place this right on the chin of each person. And so I can transform and start resizing these so that they're all the same size. I'm holding Shift to make sure I don't distort this image. And anytime you're transforming, make sure you hit Return or the checkbox up here in your options bar. Same thing with this guy. I could also drag down a guide for the tops of their heads. That looks like it needs to go up a little bit. And then resize or transform the stern guy. And trying to get them all to be about the same size. And that's why the guides are very useful. You can also drag from the side and drag guides for the sides of their faces and make your grid. Now, these teal guides are actually invisible when you go to print. So they're just guidelines. They're not actually going to print out. And so you can see here, if I did the vertical guidelines, then I could line them up vertically in columns and rows. You're also going to use the type tool to label each emotion. You can see even teachers get the spinning rainbow of death, probably because I had this set way too big. You can change your font size, your font. Make sure you choose a readable font and change it off of Myriad Pro, for goodness sake. Choose something a little more interesting but yet readable. Oh, what shall we go with? Let's try this one. And make it a readable color as well. It doesn't have to be black, it could be blue. And then label each one of these. You can see that's a little bit small. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. You have to highlight the text. There we go. You can move it around. And then to make a new type layer for the next word, I'm going to click off of that layer, click underneath the head, and then label that one. Okay. You can also drag down guides for the text. That way each column, again, is all nice and even in a good grid. Also use your type tool to add the heading up at the top. And that could be a different font if you want, or a different color to make it stand out. Make sure it reaches all the way across. You might need bigger than 72. You can always type in a higher number up here. That looks pretty good. And you can see I'm off to a good start. You also want to color the background for this. And so again, over here on your layers panel, scroll down to the bottom and click on your background layer. And then use the paint bucket. We're not going to use the gradient tool this time, just the paint bucket to create a nice color for your background. And then finally, I wanted to show you one thing. This is an extra credit option that you have. You notice that this image of the excited woman is kind of dark. She was backlit in the photo, which probably happened to you, especially if you took images on your iPad. You can make adjustments to your photos. And like I said, this is extra credit if you have time. So click on the layer that image is in, come up to the image menu and choose adjustments. And then you've got a whole bunch of options here. The first one I want you to try is just brightness and contrast. So let's try brightening this image up so it matches the other ones, upping the contrast a little bit. Oh, that looks pretty good right here. You could also, if you would like to make them all black and white, you can go to Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. Uh-oh, almost out of power. You can take the saturation all the way down, which will make it black and white, or you could have some fun changing the hue of the different images. So we can make her, that's not changing a whole lot. Oh, we can make her green. Right, so I'll let you play around with that. Have fun.